Hello and welcome to another episode of Grange TV. We have with us here Mr. David Roberts behind the mic over there doing stuff. Mate, this guy's going to get the most improved award. And we have with us Mr. Robert Whittaker, UFC champion, sometimes wrestler, has been known to do the odd bit of gardening, generally a good solid guy, and myself. Actually, let me begin. We are in the process, guys. We've been playing with the podcast for a while. We just started off like just having a little bit of fun, and we're starting to build a little bit more. We've got a few things that we're looking at doing. We're going to build some stuff around here, and should be exciting times. Feel free to put on your hateful comments as much as you like afterwards. Actually, to be fair, most of the comments have been overwhelmingly positive. The negative ones, I feel sorry for you people, honestly, but just keep putting them there because at least you're watching the show. I really appreciate it. But we're starting to get a little bit of momentum with the podcast, and we're really enjoying it. Please like and subscribe. The more you like and subscribe, the more it helps us to keep the whole thing going.
Even the guys that are leaving the negative comments, make sure you like and subscribe and turn notifications on so that you know that when we post a new episode, you can be the first one to be in there bad-mouthing us.
You can let everything go about how your dad didn't spend time with you and everything, and now you want to take it out on us. So please do that. Take all your frustrations out and all the shit that has ever happened to you. Take it out on us. But yeah, please like and subscribe. Massive weekend of fighting. The smaller shows.
There was.
But it was a good weekend.
It looked like the main card for a lot of the fight shows were much smaller. But like they were great fights, a lot of great fights. And good fights, big names. Some interesting names.
Which card would you like to kick off with?
Let's start with the bare-knuckle boxing.
Did you? I watched the whole card. I actually bought that card, the whole thing. Yeah. I don't know if you illegally streamed it or what you did, but I bought it and I watched the whole thing. I'm going to turn the heat off, actually. It's getting a bit hot.
Okay. I watched the main event. The problem I have with it's not a problem. This is just a personal thing with me. Is that I find it hard to watch bare-knuckle boxing. Like I just find it hard to watch because
Why, you don't understand the fighting?
I understand fighting quite well, I'd like to think. It just looks like it hurts. It looks like it hurts. And like every time I hear that like that skin on face sound, I don't know, I can hear the knuckles.
One of the things that I found particularly interesting was I was watching them get their hands wrapped. And when they're getting their hands wrapped, it looks almost like a cast.
Yeah. With
just the knuckles exposed.
Yeah.
And like the pad, like the amount of tape and whatnot that you have on that wrist, it's not really bare knuckle, It's like it's still in a cast.
Yeah.
The knuckles are bare, which it's bare knuckle, but the amount of force you'd be able to generate with that, can you explain to people what it feels like to have your hands wrapped like that?
Like obviously there's a science to it, and I'm not going to be the guy that tries to.
No, but what do your hands feel like when in that wrapping?
It just feels more solid. It grabs everything and pulls it all together, so that when you're making your fist, like from where the tape starts to where it ends, like you can just feel everything being held together tighter.
Is it like a cast?
From what I've experienced, like in the UFC and stuff, it doesn't feel like a cast. It feels still like tape, and it's like it's nice and tight and strong, and so that when you bring your fist together, like everything's kind of held together well. But it doesn't feel like an actual cast. Whereas like when I watch the bare knuckle boxing, theirs actually looks like they have a fracture in their forearm and they've got a cast on.
Yeah.
Like I'd like to. You know what? I'd like to know the science behind how having such a strong cast on the wrist would correlate to like protecting the knuckles and the hands from trauma and stuff.
I think in that regard, it's protecting the carpals and the metacarpals, and metacarpals being those bones in the hand, and the carpals being the wrists. But the knuckles in and of themselves, I don't think are being protected too much. But I don't know how much of that force would actually transfer through into broken hands. But and the way that the other thing, and it was evident in the Malignaggi fight with Lobov, was like dudes are swinging. Malignaggi not so much, but like, and even in the undercards, you're watching the guys are swinging for the fences like they with bare knuckles. It's 5 2-minute rounds though.
Yeah, so you can come out really hard, and you can that round you can put in a lot of work, throw a lot of shots. But like I said, I find it hard to watch. Like they're just throwing those hands around. And as someone who's broken their hands before, like just watching them throw those hands around and just connecting with the skull. Especially when I was watching the Lobov Malignaggi fight, like Lobov was scrapping. Like he was like just throwing at any angle. I remember watching out some of the slow-mo replays of some of the shots that landed, and like he's just like clipping the major knuckle, like the lead knuckle, and just like, or hitting on a weird angle where his wrist is like super turned. It's just, I was just wondering like, how didn't he hurt his hands? You know.
I saw in the press conference. I didn't watch the press conference, but I saw in the press conference, like I saw a clip of the press conference, and Malignaggi's there with like ice on both hands. You know what I mean? Like, you also wonder like people that are doing that, what the longevity would be, because yeah, it doesn't look like they cop the same amount of trauma to the head, but when they do, it's just they just cut open, completely cut open, and their hands, like they can't. They obviously wouldn't be able to take too many, like do that for too long. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It would be really hard to tell, because you'd have to look into like how many of the guys are actually damaging their hands from those sort of fights, and the scar tissue on the face, like. I've seen like that night fight before. Like the two guys' face was just cut open, like someone had just walked up to him with a straight razor and just started hacking at his face. It looked brutal.
What do you think of the result?
I don't know. Like I think like you never know with these things, like judges and the scoring, like however they score. Do the best.
We both thought Lobov would win before the thing. We both called that before Lobov.
Yeah.
But what do you think of the actual fight and the decision?
Do the judges score bare-knuckle the same, or is there a certain scoring?
I don't know.
Because like, how does that work?
I'm going to assume that it's a 10-point must system and thing. I don't know.
Because you know, it's like, and I saw Malignaggi doing it, you know, by instinct, by reflex. He was slipping in and dropping his levels like a boxer would. And then Lobov would just cup his head and start like uppercutting him. And it looked like how I thought it would go. Like Malignaggi just trying to box him, like just trying to classically box him.
And he had good feints and good movement, good angles.
He was popping the jab, like real crisp jabs. And the
angles that he had particularly in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, and I would hate to get popped with a jab, like a fast jab with bare knuckles on your lips and mouth. That would suck. But like it looked like Malignaggi was trying to box him, and Lobov was like, "Come here, boy!" like just walking forward, throwing bombs, like just throwing, and just aggressive the whole time. Which I guess, like, you know, when we said the body types and other athletes and built for the shorter rounds, like 2 minutes. You can just go out there, unload, come back, get a breath, and just go back out there and unload. Like that's.
And he also looked quite a bit bigger than Malignaggi. I think
Malignaggi did look small, didn't he?
I think Malignaggi fought, and I could be wrong here, but I think he fought a big portion of his career at 135, fought at 145 as well, whereas Lobov, for the most part, fought 145 and 155. You know, so he's... You know, he's definitely a bigger guy as well. That's for sure. Like just a bigger guy, bigger head, bigger guy. But it was a good fight. It was an interesting fight.
I find it hard to watch those fights.
You don't like the bare knuckles?
No, it's not that I don't like it. I like it as a form of combat sports. I just can't. I just cringe when I start watching it. I don't know. There's something about it. I don't like watching it.
Cringe in what way?
I don't know. I just don't like. I don't like hearing that
like the meat.
Yeah, the meat hitting each other. Like I just can't. Like that's why like those things on YouTube where you see people having street fights and stuff like that. Like, I can't stand watching that stuff either. Like I just don't like that noise. I just don't like it. I don't know. It's a personal thing.
What do you think of the Moicano and Korean Zombie fight?
I thought that was a.
Who'd you think was going to win?
It depends, because the last fight Zombie had was crazy.
Yeah,
that was crazy. Yeah, and we've spoken numerous times about having fights like that, and then having a fight that goes for the distance almost. Like, let's say it went the distance, because it practically did, and then to end it like that, like to get dropped like that, and that it's just that those sort of fights take more than just physical and mental toll. They take a little chunk of your soul out. Like those are fights you leave everything out there for. So I was very curious, because you see a lot of these athletes and a lot of the high profile fighters that have fights like that, they don't come back the same. Like, a lot of them don't. And for somebody to come back and win in that fashion, like, I'm very happy for him. Like, obviously it's great for his career and everything, but I'm very happy for him to come back, win in that fashion, because it's hard. It's hard for guys to come back like that.
What do you think about the way that he won? He came over the top with that overhand right. Said, like, that's something that he'd been working on, as a particular punch that he'd been working on. Do you see it as being particularly effective with those tall, rangy kind of guys? Definitely.
Like, you see it all the time with when the shorter guy fights a taller guy. Those are looping overhand punches, especially if the tall guy is fighting tall. That's what I call it. I don't know what the technical term is, but when they're fighting tall, so they're keeping their center of gravity like up high. When the smaller guy tries to come in, they're keeping him at arm's range, usually with a lean back, little slide of the feet, and the circle out. Like, they try to keep him. Like, John Jones is very good at that. Like, Rockhold is very good at that. Like, that tall type of fighting. So to get in, you got to get inside with those sort of guys. You got to get inside, and when you get inside, you have to try to attack him. But it's hard because his arms are there. You have to get around his arms. So those looping overhands, they come around the arms. They come around the lead hands. Usually on like an orthodox, they come around the arms. If it's southpaw and orthodox, like it's just lining him up. It's a beautiful shot. But yeah, it loops around the arms, and it's also hard to see because with those overhands, you drop your bottle, you drop your level, so like the eyesight comes down and the overhand comes up like a little. Yeah. So
higher. Two things are happening.
Yeah, and it plays with your vision a little bit, especially if you're trying to focus on what he's doing. Especially if you know he has a wrestling background or not, that can play a factor into it. So I think the only problem with the overhand rights, when they work, they're spot on. But if you start spamming them, or if you start like rapid fire throwing them, they leave you so open, like overhand shots, like so open, because you still are restricted by range, as well as you're putting yourself in a precarious position with a like super open portion of your body, because the overhand is coming usually in a looping fashion. So it's like you can get caught. You see a lot of guys get caught trying to throw those punches as well, like an uppercut, lean back uppercut, lead kick, lead knee, rear kick, flying knee, like those sort of time. When those things happen, it's usually because the guy's trying to like drop his level, come in with those overhand shots. But I think if you utilise the technique,
how do you did Zombie do the correct thing in your opinion, the way he threw it, or was it more like he just got lucky that it landed, in your opinion?
The thing is, I would have liked to have seen...
I'm not saying it was a lucky win before. If it wasn't a lucky win, no. I'm a fucking big Korean Zombie fan. I'm just in the context of... We're talking very specifically about the overhand right.
Well, I think because Korean Zombie doesn't throw it a ton in his career, it's not something that you'd be like, okay, he always does this. This is what I'm going to work on. So you go into a fight preparing for the overhand right, which means... Korean Zombie gets like a one get out of jail free card. That's what I think. Like when he came in, because he hasn't thrown that punch a lot, he can throw it once without the guy reading it. And granted, like if the guy's super high caliber, you'll get it. Like you throw it once and then you'll be like, okay, I see what you're trying to do, and then he'll switch it up or keep you at range or whatever. But in his case, like he gets one free one almost. You know what I mean? And he threw it early. and it paid like dividends straight away. Like it happens like that sometimes. You see it a lot of times. Like I think he
got Moicano so flush.
Yeah,
I thought he knocked him out, but I don't know how Moicano's still awake for as long as he was.
Yeah, that was in my opinion, that was
credit to Moicano, and it's like fuck, man. If he went to sleep there, you would have just said, fair enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's like that. You know, there's such a cracker shot, and those shots though. Usually, when those type of shots land, they finish fights, and you see a lot of guys that do the same thing, like that fight with Sage. That was kind of like an overhand right, like a looping right hand, that just almost decapitated him.
Oh, in one?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was an overhand right. Was it an overhand right?
It was like a looping right hand. It wasn't your textbook like windmill type right hand, but it was like a looping right hand. It was like he dropped his level, threw it over the guard. Dos Santos when he fought Velasquez that first time. that was a like stratosphere type right hand.
Yeah, like he bowled a cricket ball.
yeah. But you see, it's so hard to see those type of shots, and then if they work, you know, it's how much risk. Sort of talking about the bare-knuckle boxing, how much risk are you of breaking your hand in those kind of punches? It depends how your hand lands, but much more so than your traditional, like, straight line punches. Because when you loop, depending on
it just seems like you're gonna land it like that. It's such a precarious punch.
Yeah,
you know, it's just gonna snap.
It depends how your hand lands, but it also it's like the angle it lands on. Like it's not a natural position for your fist to be in.
How many times have you broken your hand?
I don't know. Like in a fight? I think twice. No, I've gone into a couple of fights with broken hands though.
Who'd you fight with broken hand?
Like my first fight with
Court McGee, you had a broken hand.
Yeah, I broke my hand there, but I think I injured it just beforehand. Maybe
you had a broken hand. You broke your hand against the guy Brad Scott.
Yeah, Bradley Scott, my debut in the UFC. That was with a broken hand. Shout out to Manny for breaking my hand in.
Oh, so you broke your hand
on his fat head like 2 weeks beforehand.
Okay, so you broke your hand 2 weeks. What did you break?
Metacarpal here.
So you broke that metacarpal.
Yeah.
On your index and pointer finger, and so you broke that metacarpal, and you knew it was broken.
Yeah.
And you still took the fight.
Yeah. Because that was the finale for the Ultimate Fighter.
How does that affect you psychologically going into a fight with a broken hand?
Like it's not fun. It's not fun. Like it's not something you're like. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's in my position then, like I had nothing to lose, everything to gain. Like whether I took the fight with no legs, because that was the Ultimate Fighter finale. And I didn't even think I'd get that far in the show, you know. So I was pretty stoked already, and that was the finale. And that, like, if I would have pulled out of the finale, I wouldn't have had a UFC contract. Like I wouldn't have had anything. And
it's just funny because then you think like the 2 times that you have pulled out of fights, which weren't due to injury, one was chicken pox, and the other ones was. Yeah,
let me reiterate that. I have never pulled out of a fight due to injury.
No, but there's injuries that you fucking if you tear your bicep off your bone, or you tear you know what I mean, or you break your fucking neck, then you're gonna have to pull out.
Yeah.
But in fairness, like, because I'm just trying to put in perspective, because most people, if they break their hand, that's you know, that's it. Like, you can't say, oh fuck, what, you didn't take the fight, you broke your hand, but you still fought with a broken hand. And the Court McGee fight, did you break your hand before the fight or during the fight?
During the fight.
You broke your hand against Court?
During the fight. Because you see that I don't start fighting with Court McGee with elbows. But by the end, I'm just throwing elbows almost. Yeah. And then Natal, I broke it.
Oh, you broke it against Natal as well?
Natal was a bad one. Like that was a bad break. That was the one I actually had to get surgery on.
I remember when you broke, you could see it straight away when you broke your hand against Natal.
In the first round. And then Romero in the second fight.
Why do you think that is, that you break your hands? There's people on the comments on YouTube says because of your bad punching technique.
I think.
Do you think you have a tendency to break your hands? Like, do you think there's something wrong with your hands?
No, it's one of those things like it's just, especially in MMA. And with those small gloves in particular, like, there's not a lot of room for error. There's not a lot of room for error. And with MMA in particular, there's a lot of the movements and the way the striking occurs isn't textbook. It's not normal. It's a lot of weird angles because you're preparing for different things.
Sorry, you broke your hand also against Romero. Yeah. So 4 times.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So just wanted to clarify that. Go on.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's one of those things that like it just happens. Like with Romero, I clipped I must have clipped an elbow when he was guarding up.
Or his head, maybe his head somewhere.
Maybe his head, but I think it was more an elbow, to be honest, because he had that weird guard style where he was like, I forget what's this called,
like a Philly shell kind of thing,
sort
but it wasn't. But it wasn't.
Or he had his arms up like this. It was weird. But his elbows were sticking out. I think I clipped the elbow. And like if you punch an elbow, and when I broke my hand with Romero, it was the thumb. So like my thumb hit. Like must say hit, and that's not padded at all. The thumb is not padded or gloved or anything. So that just kind of happened. It's just a thing that can happen. You're throwing leather around. I'm sure if you looked at the statistics, a lot of like UFC fighters break their hands.
I think Uriah Hall Uriah Faber when he fought I believe Mike Brown. He broke both his hands in the fight.
Yeah.
And he was just elbowing.
Yeah.
Towards the
Pettis broke his hand.
Yeah.
Against Singh.
So I know we spoke about it in a different podcast. And a lot of people criticised Pettis for pulling out or his coach stopping the fight or whatever it was for breaking his hand. Well, when he broke his hand and he stopped fighting. But you've broken your hands several times, never still took the fight and never pulled out. What are your thoughts on that?
The thing with my situations and me fighting and when I broke my hands, I was winning those fights still. Like even with the broken hand, I was still winning those fights, or they were close enough that we could leave it. Pettis was in a bad way when like he broke his hand and then was it in the first or second round? But the second round,
I don't know. But and this is the other thing is you don't really clearly know. Even you now, when did you break your hand against Romero? Sometimes I broke it here, but you might have cracked it, and then you hit him again in the second, and then you break it proper. So I don't know.
So well, let's say it was at some point. In the second round,
definitely at some point.
In the second round, it was going downhill fast, Ferguson's pressure was getting overwhelming. He was landing a lot of shots, and Pettis couldn't keep him off with his right hand.
Broken.
Broken. Like couldn't keep him off, and Ferguson was not going to relent. Like he wasn't a distance fighter or anything like that where they could do their thing in the open mat. No, Ferguson was in your face the whole time.
He is very much a pressure fighter in your face. Yeah.
So it's a different concept. Like it's a different fight, different situation.
So you don't think it was wrong? People bagged him out for stopping the fight.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was wrong at all.
Because when they said that, and I remember people saying, and I remember doing the podcast about it, and people talking about it, and I was thinking man, there's so many ways you can break your hand too. Like there's breaks that you have that you or your injuries that you have that are bad. Right, and then there's other injuries that aren't that bad, but they hurt more. But he might have broken his hand to the point that he can't even. Do you know what I mean? Like you couldn't use it, but he. Who knows? You know what I mean?
Well, the big thing was because I know how hard it is fighting with one hand. You lose like a fourth of your arsenal. Like it's so hard, especially a guy that's coming forward. Not being able to use one of your hands it's so hard. And what people don't realize is it's not only hard for me to stop you coming forward, it's gassing me. I'm getting tired moving backwards.
Can you explain that?
I remember in the Court McGee fight, because I couldn't stop him from coming forward, I was getting tired moving away. Like backing up, circling, trying to attack to stop him, and then it not working, and then him coming forward again. It's so tiring, and especially in that Pettis-Ferguson fight, Pettis couldn't keep him off him with his hands, and he was running out of steam, like moving away.
The other thing I don't think people understand is like the neural fatigue, like when you having to react to it, but you're trying to react to it. Your normal instinct would be to hit him to keep him off you, but you can't. So you have to make an extra process. Like, what am I going to do? Am I going to move? Am I going to kick? Am I going to think? Whereas you can't naturally follow, like your instinct might be to throw 1-2, you can't throw it. So there's a whole extra process that's occurring that starts to fatigue you even more, because when you're fighting off your natural instinct. The moment that you can't do that, you have that starts to be massively fatiguing as well.
100%.
How did you deal with it in when you did fight like that?
Just stick to the game plan, really. Usually, because it was the two most recent fights, like Natal and Romero, like that was my right hand that broke, so I could just really try to keep him off with the jab and kicks, like just really focus on those two.
Well, yeah, but going into it, that was what the game plan had been. Luckily,
exactly. So I was fortunate enough that I could just keep that pop with a jab, circle out, kick, pop, that sort of stuff.
Dave, did you watch the bare-knuckle boxing fight?
Only the highlights.
What do you think? Do you like the bare-knuckle boxing?
Yeah, it's alright.
You don't like it?
No, I prefer boxing.
Why is that?
I don't know, it just seems a little bit more, I don't know.
Your dad was a tent fighter, eh?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that, what a tent fighter is? Because a lot of people don't know what a tent fighter is.
Actually, I don't have the mic on me, dude.
Oh, you don't have your mic?
No, I've disconnected it. Yeah, but you talk about tent boxing.
No, but they can't hear you?
No.
Oh, so it's like I'm talking to myself, like a madman.
Talking to Jesus.
Oh, all right. Well, no, you're killing me with it. No, Rob.
Yo.
I was just asking Dave, who doesn't have his mic. Please fucking flame David, please, as much as you possibly can. No, but his dad, right? Yeah. Which next time he has it, I'll get him to talk about it. Just out of curiosity, Dave, did you go ever and watch your dad fight?
No, way too young.
You were too young?
Yeah.
His dad was a tent fighter, like boxed in the tents.
Really?
Yeah, in the shows, like in the Easter show and that kind of stuff, eh? Why
are we finding out about this now?
I knew about this.
Yeah.
Did you?
But can you put the mic on so you can talk about it?
No.
Oh, you haven't got a mic?
No, I'm still setting stuff up.
Oh, okay. Because we got a whole new setup. We're putting everything together. And so we didn't have the mic set up there, but we still wanted to do the podcast.
And we were always in the process of setting things up and getting things like better, because every week there's someone complaining about our gig. But we're also going to start new segments, the gaming segment.
Yeah. There's going to be a gaming. So we're probably going to put out 2 podcasts a week. We're going to put out this podcast and have a whole bunch of different guests. Look, for those of you, it's going to always be, if it's just Rob and I talking, we have another guest that's MMA. It'll be about MMA or boxing or fighting. But we are going to we are going to head into having a lot more different guests. So yeah, the other thing we are going to try and do once a week at least, or once a fortnight, is have a gaming, like a gaming day. So I don't know how to play video games. I think we're going to start off with Bethesda.
Yeah, Bethesda type games. Yeah. Yeah.
So we are probably going to play on Thursday, and we'll get back. You'll see the announcement on social media about the time and that. Then we'll play. Can you explain to me how do I play? I don't even know what it is.
You'll see.
Tell me what it is. Tell me what's the game. What kind of game is it?
I don't know. We'll play a shooting game to begin with.
But shooting who?
Each other.
Like we play against each other?
Yeah. Or we can play against people in the world.
Yeah, but explain to me the game. Like so.
I think a good game for us to start with will be we might start playing Quake Legends.
What's Quake Legends?
You've heard of Quake, haven't you? Yeah, it's like a shooting game, a real pretty fast-paced shooting game.
What's the scenario? Give me the synopsis.
There's an arena. There's you and me and a bunch of other dudes, and we have guns.
What's the arena? I
don't know. There's multiple different maps.
Oh, so it's a map. So it's a like a a different world?
Yeah, or a map. So it's small. It's a small little map. It's laid out. It has stairs sometimes, like little places you run around, and you just chase each other around trying to kill each other. And there's different types of games, but person with the most kills wins usually.
Is it like Halo back in the day?
Yes, similar.
And you can get different guns and different weapons.
Different guns, and you can play different characters that have special abilities, and then you can use those abilities as you're playing to try and, get the upper hand.
I had a bunch of friends who used to play Halo.
Did you play Halo? Did they invite
Not
you?
really. I'm not very good at video games.
They didn't invite you.
No, they invited me, but I just wasn't very good at it. I don't have the patience.
Well, you know what? Well, I'm sure you've only gotten better with age.
Well, I have very bad attention span. Very, very bad attention span. I think growing up now, I'd be diagnosed with ADD. Growing up now, but luckily I'm not. Luckily I'm not growing up now.
You could still be diagnosed with ADD.
Yeah, but they wouldn't, because I do well with it. So I think it's overdiagnosed.
But that's what we're gonna do anyway. We're gonna start a little gaming clip segment, and that should be a bunch of fun.
We will more than likely do a virtual reality boxing fight, which I predict. I'll predict a third round finish by me.
Really? How many rounds are we gonna do? 12.
100.
Okay,
100 rounds.
100 rounds. We'll do 100 rounds.
I want to be like a throwback to the tough guys of yesteryear.
Okay. How long do the rounds go for?
I hope that they do it like back before even like the Jack Broughton rules. I want it to be if I knock you down, it's the end of the round, and you just keep going, like back in the day. That's how I want to box.
All right, then that's what we'll do.
Bare knuckles, virtual reality.
Best out of 100.
Best out of 100 rounds.
100 rounds.
Yeah, so that's like, I don't know what that's, like thousands of rounds, but that's what
Best out of 100 rounds.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
I predict that I'll stop Rob in the third round.
Do we have to do it all at once?
No, I just think that overall, I just bring too much pressure. That's my honest opinion. I don't think that you'll be able to keep me off you. I believe that with your brittle hands, your hands will probably break.
Is that it?
That's it.
Yeah, well, the thing is that we have to be able to pick characters that are similar to our body types. Like you, as you are with your noodle arms, small head.
Yeah.
And me, as I am.
With a toddler's body and fucking brittle hands. And a poor work ethic. Is there a character with a poor work ethic? You got to find a character with a poor work ethic, of brittle hands, and a toddler's body.
This should be fun.
I want to watch you break your hands in virtual reality boxing. Break them on my elbow.
Yeah, this will be fun. I'm gonna ice you.
I honestly think I'll stop you in the third round.
Then let's put a bet on it.
What do you want to bet?
Go. Say your usual $10,000.
No, I'm saying, what do you want to bet? Because it's on camera.
I don't know. I want to think about it. I don't want to say anything impulsive.
I think everyone saw somebody dog it, as we used to say back in the day.
I'm going to think about it.
Mousasi and Lovato Jnr.
Let's start before the fight, when he was just talking smack about me.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
And I didn't find this out. You told me about this.
Yeah.
So
I didn't hear him say it. In fairness, I don't usually listen to people what they say, but I saw it on a forum or somewhere where I don't know. It could be taken out of context, but he was saying that he thinks he could beat you, which, I mean, fair enough. You know, this word gets taken out of context. Like, if they ask him, do you think you beat Rob? He should say yes. You know, he's not going to say, well, no, heavens no, I can't beat him. Anyone but him.
Why did he become British?
I don't know, it wasn't really a British accent. It wasn't.
Heavens no.
Heavens no. Take my eyes, but don't make me fight Rob. No, so I expect him to say that he would. I don't know. I just find it kind of funny to say that when you got, you know, another dude, because the reality is, this is how I see it, is he can beat you, you can beat him, and anyone can beat anyone. So it's kind of like a, who gives a shit? And plus, you're in different promotions.
Yeah.
And, let me finish with this. Because when I had my mat at Miller, not a lot of people knew this, but I used to call Fedor Emelianenko out all the fucking time. And he never wanted to fight me. He might not have known, but he never fought me. Now, granted, he was a heavyweight champion in Pride in Japan and lived in Russia. And I lived in Green Valley, didn't fight, and had a tiny mat in Liverpool somewhere. It was never going to happen. So I could call him out all I wanted.
Yeah.
So he's in different promotions. I don't think it was ever going to happen.
Yeah, you know what I find funny is that he waited till he was in Bellator to start like calling me out.
No. In fairness to him, he said that you'd be an easy fight for him.
Beforehand?
Beforehand.
Oh, okay.
But then he signed to Bellator. Yeah. He said that he'd just jab you.
He probably would. Poor head movement.
Luckily, though, we have the virtual reality.
Yeah.
Virtual reality boxing.
And luckily, we'll never ever find out. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a fan of his. I like him. I like the way he fights.
I've always liked him.
I like his attitude.
I've always been a big fan of Mousasi. And I did not. Congratulations to Rafael. I did not see that one coming. I thought Mousasi would win.
So did I. But to be fair, I didn't gauge the caliber of Lovato's grappling until I looked him up and stuff afterwards.
No, he's the second American to win the world championships as a black belt. And he's won world no-gis, he's won everything, you know. And what a lot of people don't know is he grew up in a martial arts family. So I think even before, might not have the timeline 100% correct, but even before he started jiu-jitsu, he'd already had amateur boxing fights.
So what do you think? What do you think about his wrestling? Because he got Mousasi. That's what won him the fight. Was a lot of his getting him to the ground. You know, how do you think he was wrestling? Like, what do you think about it?
I think that he's like him. I think this. I don't know. You tell me. You've seem to have had more experience than me fighting people. I think that at a certain level now, there's the guys are getting really good at defending against the cage, especially guys like someone like Mousasi's got good ground game, good striking, and he's long. So by the time you can get him sort of to the cage, you're shooting from a little bit far away, and they can defend it. So the guys that I see that have a lot of success with it are the guys that have like second and third phases of their grappling. So say for example, the Damian Maia that does his like shoots a double or a single, gets that underhook, drives the people to the fence, goes into half guard, goes back to the single leg, goes back to half guard, does a half guard sweeps, and he can play that game. And Lovato Jnr did that as well. He had those aspects in the open mat too. Ben Askren, he's another guy that can. He doesn't really go onto his back per se, like that, but he just tangles people up, and they have to start. They have to keep wrestling, and they have to go. You might stop his initial shot, but it's that second and third and fourth and fifth phase of grappling where they can take you off the wall too. You know, so they can do it in the open mat, and they can just put that sort of thing on you, and it just doesn't stop. And I think that Rafael Lovato was able to do that to Mousasi, and Mousasi's grappling is really good. Like, he's a really, really high level grappler. So that just, you know, who he is, they both are, I suppose. Yeah, that's what I thought of his wrestling.
It just highlights how good Lovato's grappling is.
What's it like, though, do you think, now with the evolution of that cage wrestling, for people to be able to stop takedowns, good strikers? I'll say this as well. I think there's a difference between a non-good striker having great takedown defense and a person with good striking having takedown defense. Because one, you're having to shoot from further out and being more careful of your shots because you don't know what you're going to eat. And two, you know that if you don't get this guy down, you're going to start paying because you start to gas.
Yeah, you're getting hurt if you're not wrestling. And you can't wrestle. Like, you can't get in and wrestle him.
And it gets worse because you get hurt and you get tired.
And
So what do you think is like the evolution of that cage wrestling?
I guess it's exactly as you said, because, you know, that second phase and that continual wrestle, like that second, third phase of the wrestle of like failing the shot and then moving into your single or to your upper body pressure and then moving back down to your single and then just keeping it alive. Like
Khabib as well. Sorry, I should have mentioned him right off the bat as well.
Yeah, he's got all right wrestling too. Because, sorry, Mousasi's fought the likes of Jacare. But Jacare doesn't have that second, third phase of wrestling.
But Jacare did it really, really well against Mousasi.
Great. He did it great. But I think Mousasi had the same sort of plan for Lovato. You know, like, I think Mousasi, and this is all me just guessing, right? Because obviously I can't tell what he's actually thinking and stuff like that. But Mousasi was like, well, I fought a pure grappler before. I can outstrike him and then stop the takedowns and then just win that way, you know. But Lovato doing what he did and being able to actually win the rounds with the takedowns forced a different sort of pressure on Mousasi to win the other rounds, to keep him away. And yeah, it was a different beast. It was a different fight, you know. It wasn't he couldn't just copy paste the same game plan across, which I think he might have tried.
On paper, you'd think that someone like Jacare did beat Mousasi, or he lost in dream to him with the up kick, but in the UFC, he basically walked forward, took the shots, and got him down. But Jacare, in your fight, he strategically he did something very interesting where as soon as he pushed you into the cage, shot his double leg, and then as you defended, he did like a sort of like a fireman's carry kind of thing, and you guys tangled up. Like you were very on point to get out of there. Otherwise, it could have got a little bit hairy for you, maybe being on the bottom there with him. How do you see it getting harder to take down the good strikers against the cage? Like, what's evolving quicker, the defense against the cage from the strikers, or the ability to get them down? Because it's a lot easier to destroy than to create. So it's a lot easier to defend than it is to attack.
Yeah, I believe that. I think that it's hard to say. I definitely think attacking, like cage wrestling, is growing. It's one of those things because a lot of wrestlers have, and I've seen this from some guys that have come to wrestling, and they try to adapt to cage wrestling. They're not the same. They're not the same at all. They're a completely different beast because the center of gravities are very different. The angles are all different. So I think it's harder to get good at cage wrestling, to get like really good at it.
By cage wrestling, to define the two, like you mean getting the guy down?
Yeah, winning the cage wrestle. So like being pushed up against the cage and getting him to the mat where you can control him. Yeah. I think it's harder to become top level at that than it is to become top level at wrestling defense. I think learning wrestling defense is much easier. So I think like the cage wrestling defense is at a higher level generally than the attacking wrestler, until the attacking wrestler hits at like an elite level, like that good level, I should say, like of like Askren and Khabib and all those guys that knows how to cage wrestle, bring you off, put you back on, attack here, attack there, making you work.
And those guys as well generally are going to be guys that have grappled their whole life. It's not something that someone's going to have picked up.
Yeah, it's not something you can just learn or crunch. It's and that's their strengths, to be honest. Like just like a striker has, like a great striker has his strengths, and like his like and he has his areas he's got to try and push the fight. That's the same for them. You know, that's their trump card. So it's
Yeah, but with someone like Askren or Khabib, Damian Maia, now as we've seen, like with Lovato Jnr, like any of those guys, even Jacare now is as soon as they grab you though, you like everything in you is like, we're engaging in a grappling. We're engaging in the grappling, and it's in their favor. Like as in, like they will now. If you land with them on the ground, you're already in their world. Like that's going to start that process. And I think that's very tiring as well because you've got to get out of there at all costs.
100%. But it's also very, very tiring keeping you down.
100%.
I think the best game plan for a wrestler, to fight a wrestler, is just practice your takedown defense, try to keep them off you, and then when you get taken down, just get back up.
Yeah, the what you just said then I think is an important thing. Is like if you get taken down and you have to get taken down and pop back up.
Yeah.
If you get taken down and you stop for a second, you just stop.
Yeah.
You're done.
You lose your momentum.
Because when you lost it and they can secure the position, they start resting. Yeah. They can rest a little bit, get their breath back, and you're working.
100%.
So yeah, one of the guys that I think is very, very good at it, like you're very good at it, but the other guy that I think is very good at it in that division is Bisping. Like Bisping will touch the ground and just boom, pop straight back up. And that's how you can tire out the grapplers. But this guy, Lovato Jnr, he was able to get in the entanglement, go to half guard, and start that thing.
It was like he was grappling, like doing jiu-jitsu standing.
And you know what was impressive as well? Like, he copped a beating.
Yeah, he copped a lot of shots.
He ate a lot of shots.
Mousasi's a great striker.
Yeah.
Great striker.
He ate a lot of shots, and then he went to, like, going into the fifth, being tired, haven't taken the shots, I thought, man, he's not going to be able to get this guy down, and
came out powering.
Mate, and he took him down.
And another thing, which I'm sure plays a factor, is that he doesn't look weak. Like,
dude, that guy looks jacked. He looks jacked.
He doesn't look weak. Like, his shoulder muscles are as big as my legs. Like, that guy was yoked. Especially his upper body, like his shoulders and his biceps, like that pulling motion. He just looks like he does a lot of shoulder stuff.
A lot of shoulder stuff.
Shoulder press.
What was I going to say to you? So what do you think? Now they're talking about cross promotion and that. Would you like the cross promotion? Would you like the idea of being able to fight across different promotions?
100%. I think that would be great. I think that would be absolutely great. I'd love to bring that. I think though they'll only do like super fights, like money fights sort of things, which will be stupid. But if you can do, it'll just bring so much more spotlight to the sport. But I think it'll raise the lifestyle. What's the word I'm like raise the living standard sort of thing of like the athletes. Like I think they'll have to kind of bring it more unified-ish. So like Bellator will have to kind of match UFC's pay.
Oh yeah, the minimum pay. And it'd be great for fighters in general.
Yeah, to try and build them up, because then UFC's not the only option. You can go Bellator and then bash the people in the UFC, and different things. If you can do that and have multiple competition, then you could have a three competition champ, and then people will start breaking into other markets. I think it'd be great.
You're banging the shit out of the microphones.
Sorry. Yeah, I think it'd be great. I would like that. Plus, it'd be cool to be able to fight different athletes, different fighters.
Would you do boxing?
Me? Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'd give it a go. You know what? I think I'd be pretty good at it. But it's one of those things where I think I'd kind of have to focus on it. I don't think I'd be able to. Yeah, I'd definitely get into boxing.
What's next for you, Rob? Well, are we going to do that on Thursday? The
this Thursday coming? No.
You have stuff on.
Yeah, not this Thursday. Well, and also we got to, like, from now till then we have to get the consoles.
What do we need?
We need the consoles, the screens. We need to download the games. We need the accounts. We need to make sure it all runs. Otherwise, I guarantee you, we'll try to set it up Thursday, and then 75,000 people will comment being like, audio shit. Video shit.
I'd say the number would be
Internet
closer
shit.
to 12. 12 people.
75,000.
12 people. 3 of them being Rob's family.
Yeah, my brother's just on there going, the audio is shit.
And all right. So what do we need to do to play the games?
Oh, we'll work it out. We need a couple computers, couple screens.
Yeah.
That's it. Everything that's it. Couple computers, couple screens.
All right.
But we'll hopefully have it up by next week.
All right.
Next Thursday.
And what's happening next? What other things are happening with you?
Yeah, I guess we're in training. We're in training. We're a couple of the boys that have fight soon that we're all training for.
Dave's fighting next week on the 7th, eh?
Yeah, that's on Super Fight.
Yeah, on Super Fight. He's fighting for the
title. Yeah. So that'll be good
against Andrew Mills. Very tough guy. Shout out to both of them. I think it'll be a good fight.
Mm-hmm.
No secret, we're going for David, but
David's looking good too.
He is looking very, very good.
He's looking the best I've ever seen him.
Mate, he was switched on and everything.
Switched on.
You know, didn't get lost on the way to training. Yeah. So
James, not so much.
No, James. Leave James out of it.
Yeah, James, you got to pick. Yeah, not so much.
And then Jacob's fighting, hopefully, in Wollongong Wars. I say hopefully because you never know. There's always the cancel.
Everyone pulls out.
Mate, with Jacob, he has pullouts, and then always like something happens. A show gets cancelled. He was being at a show after the weigh-ins, everything, and it got cancelled.
Yeah,
so poor guy, it's hard for him to get a fight.
It's like fate doesn't want him to fight.
100%. So
and he's worried now because he wasn't on the poster. Like they put out the fight poster and he's not on it. It's always a bad sign.
Well, hopefully he'll be on fighting on July 12th in Wollongong Wars.
He's preparing for Abu Dhabi as well.
He is preparing for Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
He is as well. He's preparing to go to Worlds. Izzy will be defending his title at some point. He's got 2 titles. He'll defend one of them. And we are launching the GAP program on the 7th of July.
Yes.
So we'll be launching the Gracie Aboriginal Pathways Educational Program 7th of this month, and we'll be doing a lot of media around that as well. So
yeah, it's a very packed month from here until I think the end of July. It's very busy, and then hopefully I should have a fight announcement as well coming up because me and Israel.
Any news on that?
Just going off the rumours on the phone, like everyone's saying October 6 Melbourne, or October 6 Bankwest or something like that. Like it's hard to say, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be October 6 in Australia. Like pretty sure, I don't know, as pretty sure as you can be.
Yeah.
And, but I do know that I'll be fighting Israel.
Yeah.
And I've been training for it already, so the whole time we've been preparing for it. That should be a cracker fight. I don't know why he hates me so much.
I don't know.
He hates me so much.
Well, luckily you guys are going to be able to sort it out and fight.
Yeah, hopefully. But
what have your interactions with him been like?
I've always been civil, and then he got mad at me. Like, literally, he got mad at me. Like, on another interview, he's like, every time he walks up to me, he's always so nice and bullshit fake. I'm like, I'm not fake. I'm fucking civil. Like, relax, bro.
Because is it based on the fact that you said that he's not as good as he thinks he is?
Yeah, I think that's what sparked the whole thing up. And like, heaven forbid someone said I'm not as good as I think I am. Like, like
I'd imagine there are people that think that.
I'm pretty sure it's you, and it's a lot. So it's like, yeah, I don't know how I get under grind his gear so much, but thanks for the plugs.
But when I've seen you guys speak and that, it's always been fine.
Yeah, I've got no grudge. I'd like to think I'm pretty polite. I'm a gentleman. Like, I'm civil. Like, you don't have to like me. Just be civil. Okay. Or don't. Whatever.
All right. Does it affect you if he doesn't like you?
Hey, sleepless nights, multiple. Like, I just every night tossing and turning, thinking about him wherever he is, just angrily writing letters. Like writing bad, like angry rap songs about me.
I think it will be a good fight, man. To be honest with you, I think
it'll be a great fight.
Israel brings a lot of different skills to the table that I think make for an interesting puzzle, and I think it'll be an awesome fight. Please tune in. All right, thank you very much, guys. Thanks a lot.
Cheers, guys. Bye.